Hello, my name is Madeline Noland, President of ATSC. I'm very glad to be speaking with you today. This video was recorded shortly before the 2022 NAB show to bring you an update on ATSC at NAB for all those unable to join us in person in Las Vegas. If you're watching during the premiere of this video, please be sure to use the chat function where I'll be fielding everyone's questions and, just saying hi. I'd also like to invite everyone to visit the ATSC Spring Progress Report 2022. There you can explore updates on over 35 ATSC products and services. As you can imagine, there's a lot of progress to talk about this spring, and I'm joined by three incredible industry executives to help me cover as much ground as possible. Mark Aitken from Sinclair Broadcast Group and One Media, Chandra Kotaru of Guyan Solutions, and Ann Shelley of Pearl TV. Sinclair, Guyan, and Pearl each have a major display anchoring the ATSC booth at NAB, and they're here to describe what they're presenting at the show, as well as offer their insights on ATSC 3.0 and everything NextGen TV. So let me start by saying thank you, Ann, so much for being one of the major anchors at the ATSC booth at NAB Show 2022. And I'm super excited to have you in the booth. And, one of the reasons that we're doing this video is because, we want to give something to people who can't come to the NAB show. So I'm wondering if you can kind of describe what you're showing at the NAB show together with your other sponsors and the TV makers. And, perhaps a little bit about what has evolved in what you're showing since the CES show.
Sure, Madeline, we're really excited to be at NAB and be part of the ATSC booth. I'm excited to be in the new West Hall there and really to gather with the broadcasters and manufacturers and transmission vendors that have all been working on NextGen, particularly since we haven't seen each other in 2 years. So just a little bit about what we're doing at this show. So the Consumer Electronics Show, very much a CE focused show. For us, this is a broadcaster focused show. So we will be showcasing similar things that we did at CES, but more with an eye towards broadcasters and how can they lever NextGen TV to bring in new monetization opportunities in the near term. And so we start out with, when you come up to the booth, we show what the consumer is going to experience with NextGen. Because I think that really demonstrates the pull-through from a consumer side, that the TV manufacturers, all these demonstrations will be done on televisions that are selling in the marketplace today or about to be sold. And that's from Samsung, Sony, Hisense, which is about to be sold, and LG. And we start out showing the video quality, just how good the video quality is and what's being offered today on stations. And then we also move into the audio and the Dolby audio system, which has its attributes or features of consistent loudness and dialogue enhancement, as well as immersive audio. And we're showcasing that, but also sort of explaining, why is the consumer so interested in that? And that's a feature that survey after survey, both quantitative and qualitative, has outplayed and to some extent the video quality. You can't have one without the other, but it sure is a seller for consumers. And the big thing we're doing is we're launching Run 3 TV, and Run 3 TV is the TV web platform that broadcasters can enable applications from that make it really easy and consistent from a consumer perspective in terms of the look and feel, but very customizable for broadcasters for them to add new features and functions. At the same time, be able to run, run once, run many over many devices. Each CE has a very different operating systems, firmware, etc. It's really difficult to keep your application up to speed with all the changes manufacturers are making. This platform does that, so it makes it really easy for broadcasters. We're going to showcase a product, a lead gen, advanced advertising product that's been built by Scripps with a company called Kineton, who's very much involved in this space in HBB TV. This is actually going to be going live on the Script stations. So this is first revenues for broadcasters. We're going to show how broadcasters can start to make money this year with NextGen. The other thing we're showcasing is the additional accessory devices that are starting to be developed for consumers and will be really low cost. And if you bought a television in the last 7 years, you can use this to convert your television to NextGen. And we think that's an important, important for consumers, because that's low barrier to entry in terms of getting into NextGen. The other thing we're showcasing is, how do we get to scale? Right now, we have approximately 56 markets on air, over 50% of households covered. We have about 120 models that will have been sold across all of these, or developed across all of these TV manufacturers. The lowest price model sold for $544 last year, 43-inch from Sony. Sony is completely ubiquitous on its television sets. But we need to get into those high volume, low cost sets. How do we do that? Well, we partnered with MediaTek, which is one of the largest solution providers for system on chip. And we are developing a reference platform for all of those high volume, low cost television manufacturers, the tier 2s and tier 3s. And we're going to showcase that, and what does that mean? And how is that going to help accelerate devices so that in 3 years, it'll be pretty hard to find or not be able to buy a TV without NextGen. And that's when things really get interesting for broadcasters. And then finally, we are going to talk about antennas. There's some cool companies that have developed antennas specifically for NextGen, but majority of antennas work today from NextGen. Frankly, I was at Target the other day and I saw a box. I had a NextGen TV logo on it. That was an antenna. It was just sitting there. I was so pleased to see that. So a lot of this is also look for the logo. So as you know, Madeline, we launched www.watchnextgentv.com. We have a major on-air promotional campaign educating consumers about what is NextGen. So you can see those ads running at our booth. But also to look for the logo, because the logo is what can ensure to a consumer that it conforms, the receiver will work to the services that we're offering in NextGen TV. So that's basically what we'll be showcasing. It's like slightly different, which will be a lot more of what's in it for the broadcaster. And we're excited to do that.
That sounds very good. I know that the logo has been on some of the packaging on television sets so far. I've seen it in Costco and other places. And are you expecting the logo usage to expand into, additional models, perhaps on displays in retail stores, and or start appearing on some of the set-top box appliance type things? How do you see the development of the logo over the course of 2022 and the coming months?
Yeah, so we are a great question. Part of the MediaTek reference platform is a fast track for getting the logo, and making it a lot easier for these TV manufacturers to go through the conformant program and be eligible for the logo. It's really important that broadcasters get behind this logo as well as any device manufacturer, because it's assurance to the consumer. It's assurance for us so that we don't have unhappy consumers that might buy something that they think is NextGen and it's not. So this ensures that it is. And it goes through a process of testing that is self-certification or through testing houses. And this is what carriers do all day long. So when you buy your cell phone, it is certified. You want this product to be certified. Broadcasters need to let consumers know to look for the logo. It is, and it's protective for both receiver manufacturers and for broadcasters. So I see it as being widely adopted. The other thing is for us to promote it. We have a new website, a refresh of our website talking about the logo. We also be coming out with an explainer video later this spring. It really promotes the logo, and I think in all of the devices will be carrying it. From a retailer perspective, I do think once we get past 80%, household penetration, you'll see some of the big box retailers really jumping in as more and more consumers with our advertising are going in the store and they're asking for NextGen. So the more that happens, the more you'll see the logo out there.
And do you see some kind of pressure on the broadcasters? So as consumer awareness of NextGen rises and the sort of promise that's coming out, I know you had a really successful holiday campaign, again, this year, reaching the consumers, both with the audio as well as with the video and the other benefits. But, the more NextGen TV sort of rises into the consumer's consciousness over this next few months, it almost kind of puts a lot of pressure on the broadcasters to kind of deliver, right? Do you see that as happening? And how do you see broadcasters responding to that sort of new or growing paradigm?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And as you know, Madeline, one of the key features that we talk about in the NextGen television campaign is upgradable for the future, not obsolete. So when you buy a NextGen TV set, new features can be added. So we can add features on the application side over time. We can make it better and better as we learn how consumers are using the application, personalization, sports betting, T-commerce, all this is totally possible on the application. We have to walk before we run. Oh, I flipped that. I feel like we're running right now, but maybe do a marathon, but we have to walk before we run. There's features like multi-language that we're starting to sort of do proofs of concept on. Immersive, Dolby's doing some interesting things around immersive. You'll start to see more of that. So we'll be able to launch these new features. It's incumbent on the broadcasters to do that. Hats off to the companies that have launched applications, Sinclair, Hearst, Graham, Tegna, Scripps. All of these companies are out there with applications that are live in the market right now, and they're starting to innovate on them. And you'll see a lot of that at the show. So, we want to more broadly open up the application platform and invite all broadcasters to access it. We're in that process, and we're talking to a lot more broadcasters outside of Pearl. I think the other piece to this is some of the video quality. So as HDR content, clearly, because you can see that pretty easily in a better quality, and 4K can be made available to broadcasters, I think those are opportunities. And broadcasters have some of their own capabilities, their own content, some things that they can do. The more that we can innovate, the more important we'll be for the consumer. We need to drive the consumer to NextGen, and we get that. And I think, we're in a build phase right now. And I really see we're entering that innovation phase on the platform right now.
So far, our conversation has been very much focused on the United States deployment. And with ATSC 3.0 now in commercial deployment in its 5th or 6th year in South Korea, here in the US, we're ramping up rapidly. And we've seen our first commercial launch of ATSC 3.0 now in Jamaica. What do you see as sort of the international outlook for this system? And what would be the sort of challenges and opportunities that you would talk about with respect to any other countries across the globe looking to launch a second generation digital television service?
Yeah, it's fascinating if you understand the IP nature of this platform and it being IP, and generally systems are all moving IP. So that puts us in a really interesting swim lane globally. And there's features and parts of NextGen that can be incorporated into other platforms. So not necessarily the full stack. And that's what I find really interesting, is that there could be layers of NextGen, the signaling systems and the upper layers, that actually get adopted elsewhere and almost create a commonality, a global commonality, which I think is really interesting. And I hadn't really thought about it till I saw what Brazil did, in terms of looking at ATSC and ATSC 3.0 and NextGen. and taking a lot of the components, but not necessarily all of them. And that was interesting, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And if you look back, I was in the wireless area or industry for years and years. These countries can kind of leapfrog with NextGen, and that happened with digital wireless. They leapfrogged, to LTE. They didn't go through the steps the US went through. They went right to LTE. And so similarly, I think you could see some countries leapfrog to an ATSC 3-like platform. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it. And to me, that's a big win, because what that does is it globalizes our technology, which lowers cost, which makes it a hell of a lot easier for manufacturers to produce product. And I think we'll see that certainly in countries like India and Brazil, and their population base kind of blows away America. So I think it's in North America also. It's a huge opportunity as well. So Mexicans are looking at this, and Canadians with Humboldt up in Toronto. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for NextGen, and I'm excited by what you're doing to make that happen. I think it's a very different paradigm than what we dealt with ATSC 1.0.
I think it is going to be very interesting. And yeah, exactly what you said. Brazil is sort of taking a piece by piece look at things, thinking about the system in its component parts as opposed to as an entire whole. So very exciting. And for our viewers who don't know, Brazil has selected root dash and IP as its transport out of ATSC 3.0, as well as the captions in one of the audio systems that are specified in ATSC 3.0. And then the other component they took from 3.0 is the Advanced Emergency Information System. And they're still sort of working on selections for the physical layer and the applications layer. So it's very exciting to see how they're working things through. And in the last few minutes that we have, I wonder if there's anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to talk about, and or if you want to sort of give us your thoughts about how this year is going to unfold and what you see happening in 2023, or anything that you'd like to add that our viewers might be interested in that we haven't had a chance to cover.
I think it's another important year for broadcasters. Give them kudos for doing so much in a pandemic timeframe. Frankly, if I look back to the last time I was at NAB, which was well before April of 2020, that would be 2019. We've come a long way in a pretty tough time, and so I think it's really to accelerate. I want to see acceleration of NextGen, doubling down on the marketing. It's incredibly important that we get that message out there to let consumers know we need that consumer pull. That consumer pull drives retailers, talks to the TV manufacturers. It gets to that scale question. And we need to get to scale as fast as we possibly can, because that then brings in the opportunities around ROI for broadcasters. And from there, I think you see a lot of the activity around data casting, which is a longer term play. It's definitely a viable play, but we need to have a really successful television play in order to get to that data casting play and get to scale. So scale is the number one thing we're focused on. We're doing a lot of biz dev with TV manufacturers. And the other is getting out service and getting broadcasters to invest in applications. And so please come see us at our booth. If you're a broadcaster not using Run3 TV, we'd be really excited to work with you.
Thank you again very much for your time today. Thank you again for being such a huge supporter of ATSC and ATSC 3.0. Truly, the industry would not be where it is today without you, Anne. So thank you so much for all of that. Chandra, thank you so much for participating and sponsoring the ATSC CES booth, and welcome back to the ATSC NAB show booth. I wonder if you could give our audience a quick recap of what you showed at CES and describe how your NAB show display has evolved since then.
Thank you, Madeline, for having me. And yes, our Mobius platform, which is our ATSC 3 platform, simple goal is to maximize revenues for broadcasters out of NextGen TV technology, and therefore increase the value of our spectrum, the broadcast spectrum. At CES, we were in a completely unattended automated mode, demonstrating our tools, which do make that happen. But at NAB, we are actually we are at a point to announce commercially available, generally available platform. And the key thing here is that we believe we solve the problem of how do broadcasters make revenues here and today that are sustainable, scalable, and bring new revenues into our industry. And I'm not talking quarters away, I'm not talking a year away. I'm talking of sustainable, scalable revenues this month, this quarter. And I think we do that in several ways. There are various tools on the platform which make that happen, which we'll be showcasing at the show. I'll give you a small example. Take an automotive major coming to a broadcaster, discovering spectrum, discovering the kind of spectrum he needs, discovering, hey, I want this PLP at this time, at this cost. How does that tool look like? Are those tools available? How can somebody come and look at, say, all of Southeast corridor of the US? I would like this service to be launched. And then how does it discover spectrum, partner with broadcasters? So we solve the business layer, and then the operational layer of how do you invite new APIs, new technology, new feeds, new content, new advertising providers into the fold to actually connect orchestrations and service creation ability in an autonomous way, right? So all of these tools, that's what we're showing off, right? And last time when I spoke to you, I called a receiver a money-making machine. I am going to double down on that. I'm going to tell you that our receiver will speak MQTT. It will talk to an Azure IoT cloud. It's the same receiver that can be used in digital signage, apart from also being a receiver in the household, right? So these kind of tools that make us explore new revenue streams is what Mobius is all about.
That sounds pretty exciting. So help our viewers who aren't at the show kind of paint a picture. So they approach the Guyan section of the booth and sort of what do they see, and how would you walk people through what the display is going to look like?
So we have essentially 5 televisions on our display area. We walk from the tools all the way to the experiences, from the left to right. We are demonstrating 3 or 4 major tools. The first tool is how do you create applications by a simple drag and drop. We are a low-code platform. We're a no-code platform. And so we are launching, to prove a point, we're actually launching 10 applications ourselves in this at NAB. These include integrations with, say, e-concierge for ticket purchases, local events. These include with a weather channel, weather, hyper-personalized weather services as a smart DigiNet. These include a fundraising application for your communities, which is one of the largest fundraising platforms in the world. So these kind of things, we're launching 10 of these, sports betting. There are tele-education. There are tens of there are at least 10 applications we're launching at the show. But more importantly, we are saying applications, we live in an era where we have millions of apps on app stores. Broadcasters need to leapfrog to an era where today's apps on the TV get to the next level through NextGen TV technology. And in that process, it's important to curate apps, create apps on the fly, and connect various actors to create that app experience. And we've built that tool. That's our leftmost tool on the top TV. Below that, hey, it's not just about the visual experience. It's about, hey, how do you integrate with an API? How do you integrate with the network? How do you integrate with an ad provider? So the various software integration bricks, how do you do that without actually writing glue code, without writing code? We're a low-code platform, as I told you. So we can drag and drop connectors. We can drag and drop various building blocks of various tech, content, ad providers onto creating workflows and create NextGen TV workflows. That would be our demonstration below the app designer. In the very center, we have what we call our marketplace. This is where spectrum people discover each other, partner with each other. A outside automotive major could come in and plan his whole service area, send out requests to say, I need this PLP at this point in time, at this frequency, at this payload capacity. People can respond. So we have this whole marketplace where we believe the NextGen TV ecosystem will need to partner and collaborate and form alliances to deliver services. And these services could be alerting, these services could be a tele-education, these services could be music streaming, so various services. We are a platform that's neutral to the actual services that will be provided by individual partners. But the idea is to find a place where people can discover each other. So we call this marketplace discover, partner, and transact. See, ultimately, Madeline, we are a digital service. Our raw material is digital, our spectrum is digital, our content is digital, and ad is digital. Our software technology vendors are all digital providers. So why then can't we actually connect all of them and not just connect them like an Amazon Things marketplace, but why can't we connect them as transactions, right? And complete the transaction. So the marketplace does three things. It allows partners to discover, then partner and form alliances, and then transact on that spectrum, on those experiences. So that would be our third television at the center. That's our largest television, the fulcrum. And on the right two corners, we have the actual experiences. We have how a broadcast can look for a hyper-personalized weather or a fundraising or all kinds of interactive applications. We are doing a first time a demonstration of MQTT IoT protocol on the same receiver, which will be used to actually receive ATSC 3 datacast and deliver it to downstream IoT clients. And so we have two televisions and some IoT devices on the right corner, summing up the experience layer or the experience area. So tools, marketplace, experiences. That's what we're about.
Well, that sounds amazing. And Chandra, for those who aren't able to see this display at the show, what's the best way to reach out to Guyan for more information?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. So we have various social media activity beginning from next week, which will talk about what we are doing at the show. And we have folks available who will we can reach out to us over email, on social media. And we have various ways that we are opening up the platform for. As I said, the platform becomes generally available at the show. We're being very careful with the first set of partners we work with. We just don't want to run before we can walk. So we are looking to find the right set of partners in the beginning, a subset of partners to make this all and prove out the models and everything else. So you can reach us out on our social media contacts.
You've given us a little bit of an outlook in the early part of 2022, where you certainly see the opportunity for broadcasters to start monetizing their ATSC 3.0 deployments. Give us a little bit of a sort of bigger picture coming into 2022 and 2023. And I think we've sort of talked a little bit about what's going on in the United States thus far, but now that ATSC 3.0 is on the air in South Korea and the United States and now Jamaica, and there's interest building in other parts of the world, what do you see as happening through the rest of 2022, both on the US stage as well as in other countries across the globe?
So if I was confident when we were talking about CES, I'm ecstatic now, Madeline. I mean, I really think it's a great time to be, a great place to be. Our cup is certainly full in terms of, just the type of conversations we have, the kind of innovation speed that's in the industry at large. Imagine the amount of time we talk network function virtualization or 5G integrations or AI, deep AI tech coming into our applications. I think it's a great time in terms of what we are doing as an industry. I'm simply ecstatic that this is a time for some wonderful things. If you let me, I would like to make a few predictions, and the way I think this will go. I think we will discover our price on the spectrum before the end of the year. I think broadcasters will talk very specifically about spectrum. I think one of the FANG companies will make major moves, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, or Google into our industry. I think there will be at least a few large enterprise customers, whether it's in smart cities or automotive, doing real business at scale before the end of the year. And I think all of these are great signs for how our spectrum, our network, our technology, and our delivery of content experiences is going to transform. And I think to that end, to your question about international participation, I think the key thing there, I believe, is they have the advantage of leapfrogging over their current tech. They have the challenge of the local governance. And I think it's important that there are some problems we can solve, some we cannot. I think the key things that we can solve are, provide education, tools, sponsor POCs, trials, And if you, in your travels, find anywhere in the world for people focusing on solutions and actual use of NextGen TV technology and ATSC 3, please sign us up. We'll be happy to offer receivers, instantiate our cloud platform, and actually do use cases, whether it's in governance, education, various use cases that we are all about.
Very good. Well, there's certainly a lot of interest in those types of applications in many of the areas where I've had an opportunity to talk to people, Mexico, Canada, India, and others. So it's definitely quite a landscape opening up. And thank you for your predictions. You heard it here first, folks. We're looking forward to those great predictions unfolding in 2022 and 2023. Thank you, Chandra, for joining us and providing all this great information about what's happening at NAB and looking ahead as well.
Thank you, Badly.
My next guest is Mark Aitken, and who needs no introduction, but I hope he'll introduce himself to everybody. So Mark, for those that are not at the show, paint us a picture. We approached the Sinclair area in the ATSC booth at W9022, and what do they see? Sort of draw it out for us.
Well, yeah, we've got 3 screens, 2 screens, again, one showing HD as we know it today, right? ATSC 1 HD, and a second screen that is a consumer device that supports the ATSC 3 standard and SL HDR1 or advanced HDR by Technicolor, and that SDR reassembled into HDR, and we'll walk people through that process. We've got some handouts. There'll be a QR code. People can click on that and get additional information. And then the third screen will be all about the broadcast app. And you know, many people know that ATSC 3 has this interactive component, but we've spent a lot of time. They'll see a new version of the broadcast app. We've spent a lot of time and attention with firms that have been involved in interactive TV web experiences for a decade, and so there'll be a focus on on we talk all the time about broadband convergence. Well, we'll bring broadband to life inside of broadcast, and as well we will be able to literally trigger on the spot advanced emergency information calls that bring up on the screen the fact that that there's an event, and show the kinds of filtering that are available by a number of different analytics that start with zip code and things of that sort, and as well an in-depth study that was done. There's a 32-page report that again we'll have as a handout for those that want to take that away. It'll also be available on the through the QR code on a website. So they'll and more importantly, I think they'll see a lot of people on the booth, because this NAB is really shaping up to be a must-see, must-go-to event.
And if I understand correctly, Sinclair is on the air in Las Vegas along with others. Do you expect to utilize the off-air signaling from the stick?
Yeah, this is all live. This is an end-to-end system. It's the live broadcasts from the KSNV facility, which is hosting a total of 5 broadcasters. But all of this content is live. The ability to trigger an informational event, it will allow people to see the notion of a broadcast news flash, for example, or the kind of information that you would get, in association with an actual alert. We obviously won't be triggering an alert. We don't want to suffer that the end result of that. But we'll be showing everything that gets associated with an alert as well as that additional information on it. So we've got multi-channels of content. As I said, the NBC will actually be in HDR, and there's a second temporary authority that we got for the purposes of the show, where there's 4K UHD content being distributed for different folks at multiple booths throughout the show.
Good stuff. Well, a couple of quick questions that I'd like to run by you. A little bit, I was wondering if you could talk just a bit about your outlook for 2022, and also talk a little bit about what you see as key challenges and opportunities for countries across the globe thinking about a DTT transition to a next generation system. Now with Jamaica, South Korea, and US all with commercial operations, it kind of becomes an interesting thing on the international front. So sort of thinking about 2022 and 2023 with a global outlook, what do you think is going to happen in the next year or two?
Wow. Well, I think that you're going to see we're on the cusp of that. What people have been waiting for, sort of that hockey stick, I think will be there. At the end of this year, beginning of next year, where it's sort of a straight up curve. And part of that is, there are regulatory, issues under discussion right now. The sunset of ATSC 1, for example, the issue of eliminating the substantially similar programming requirements, which means that new kinds of programming that better exercise all of the tools of ATSC 3 can be brought to the market. It doesn't mean anything goes away with ATSC 1. All that content stays on the air, but bringing additional kinds of programming. The deployments will continue. I know for ourselves, we've got, I think there are 45 to 50 stations on the air at this date. Well over half the U.S. population is being covered. And I know that, we've got, in some cases, 1 and 2 stations a week that are going on the air. So by the time the show rolls around in a short 2 weeks, there'll be another 2 stations on the air. And we expect that trend to continue. We've got, through the third quarter this year, markets plotted out. It's a time for broadcasters to sort of, engage arm to arm in making this happen, because, it takes coordination to, as our leadership would say, we're taking a perfectly good station making money, and we're shutting it down to convert to ATSC 3 for the new opportunities, but at the same time relying on other broadcasters to carry our content so that current day operations go uninhibited without a hit to the pocketbook, so to speak. So I think that trend continues. We just today, it'll be old news by the time of the show, but we announced the first data casting pilot program, which is actually the first of a couple. By the time of the show, we expect to have another. So the data casting opportunities are starting to bear fruit with large companies. USSI, the pilot project that was announced today, is going to explore the opportunities in high traffic areas surrounding, a nationwide build out of EV charging stations. Not an integral part of the charging station proper, but systematically the place that people go to at those locations to interact for the purpose of doing business. Tying secondary devices in through an application that allows them to suck down a few kilowatt amp hours of electric fuel on the one hand, and at the same time get targeted content. And so it's really exploring different avenues of data casting. And then on the international front, you know, people are going to be surprised in some respects to see there's a fairly large attendance by folks from India, both demonstrating on the show floor, but also dignitaries from Prasar Bharati, which is the public broadcaster, IIT Kanpur, the Indian Institute of Technology, and others that are coming together. Mr. Sunil is one of many speakers that are on the NAB agenda, and they'll be talking about the coming together of. By the way, you've been exceptionally inspirational in pulling together some key parts of this with TSDSI, the Indian Standards Organization, Pamela Kumar, and your relationship with her have really built a bond of trust, both personal and technologically. And so one of the speakers, Sunil, will be talking about the pilot project that Prasar Bharati is engaged in with direct to mobile, solving that problem, which is particularly intense in India when you got 40 or 50 million people all at once trying to watch cricket. Just one use case, but offloading traffic from the unicast networks onto broadcast, and the work underway to standardize that is exceptionally important. And I suspect there are other parts of the world, that you know about are sort of knocking on the door and asking the questions. And so I think the next 3 to 5 years, by 5 years from now, we're going to be conducting business on a basis that we can't even think of today, and many of those opportunities are being unleashed today.
This is very exciting. Thank you very much, Mark, for all of your ideas and for all your help and support with ATSC 3.0 here at the NAB show, and for many years before and hopefully to come as well. Thank you, Anne, Chandra, and Mark, for helping everyone get a taste of what is happening at NAB and around the industry this spring. And thank all of you very much for watching this video. As the ATSC membership is continually developing the ATSC 3.0 platform, we look forward to future opportunities to update everyone on what's happening and what's on the horizon. Until then, see you next time. Thanks very much.